And we are live on YouTube. So anybody who's wanting to see our program tonight can go to Matinee Minutia. Go ahead and spell that .com. Click on the YouTube link and you can see us in our glory. Toppie, did you hear us on the stream, sir?
I did.
Excellent. Yep. All right. So without further ado, I think that I will find my place here. Doobie-doobie-doo. Okay. Loo-loo-loo-loo-loo. Okay. Welcome to the beautiful historical marionette theater. You're just in time for our Halloween show. It's going to be a spooky good time. Grab your seats. The show is about to begin. And cue our guest reading tonight's theme. 1 second. Let me find it here. 1 sec. Where did it go? It moved on me. Shoot. Where's... Oh, here it is.
Max and Danny are two kids who've just moved to the spookiest town in the Commonwealth. At school, they learned the local legend of three sisters who were witches. Trying to impress a girl he met at a party, the teenage boy ends up triggering the return of the damned. Will they find their parents in time to get help? Will the witches figure out how to break the curse that will snuff them out again? Will little Danny score her favorite candies? Grab some salt, a broom, and your walking shoes. It's time for Hocus Pocus with Bette Midler.
What do you get when you take a dash of the silver screen, a pinch of golden oldies, and a smidgen of screaming? It's time for Matinee Minutia with your hosts DJ and Toppie.
Good evening, Toppie. It is a fine fall evening. How are you tonight?
Oh, I'm good, thank you. And it's brisk outside. We've had some lovely sunny days, and the leaves have really been looking great. So it's really been a spectacular fall season. How are you doing?
I am quite well, and I would quite agree. It's very picturesque here in Western New York. The beautiful fall colors have come out on the leaves, and we've had some ups and downs with the temperatures. I think we're settling back into normal fall weather now. I had to turn my heat back on.
Yeah.
So we have a special guest tonight. Oh, I will have to put a maintenance guy on that. Please put your hands together for the mysterious and fabulous magical D'Manda Martini.
Hello. Hi, Toppie. Hi, DJ.
Hello.
So happy to be back.
So wonderful to have you back.
Welcome back to the Marionette, D'Manda. I hope that we got all those green M&Ms out for you this time.
Yes, but next time Skittles. Skittles are better.
Oh. Taste the rainbow.
Yo, yeah. Most definitely.
And DJ, why don't you tell the folks so that they can tune in and see D'Manda how to find this on YouTube, because YouTube is going simultaneously, right?
It sure is. The easiest way to get there is to go to our page at Matinee, MATINEE, Minutia, MINUTIAE.com. And you'll see the YouTube logo right there on our page towards the top. Just click on that and you'll get right to our channel.
Yeah, and if you can, keep the chat room open so you can use that too. Is that even possible for people with a phone? You can't really do that with a phone, can you?
I mean, you can. It's just more difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, you can. However, if you're really smart, what you can do is stream. If you have connected devices in your home, like I do, is you can stream YouTube to your television, and then once it's streamed on your television, you can open up other apps on your phone.
That's fabulous.
It's a little bit like fishing. We call it casting.
Yeah.
Well, Toppie, we have a special occasion here. We're talking about a film of the season with a lady of the season, the hour. And maybe we should tell our folks a little about what that film is. Shall I go ahead and play the trailer for us?
Mm-hmm.
Jump back. Twist the bones and bend the back. Here to take up a demonic mystic.
Back in 1693, the people of Salem, Massachusetts, witches,
Yes?
thought they got rid of the Sanderson sisters for good.
We shall be back.
300 years later, it's Halloween Eve, and they're back.
We're home.
Are you boys a little old to be trick-or-treating?
Talking about 3 ancient hags versus the 20th century. How bad can it be?
Now they're digging up old friends
What a stench.
and running amok,
Come on.
looking for the one thing they miss most.
Too stingy for supper. I'm not hungry. But we are.
Only one boy has the power to stop them
Prepare to die again.
You have no powers here, you fool!
before all Salem falls under their spell.
Hello, you.
Walt Disney Pictures presents Bette Midler,
Hello.
Sarah Jessica Parker,
Would thou dance with me?
and Kathy Najimy. Hocus Pocus.
Into the night!
They love to fly, and it shows.
Good night. Sleep tight. No screaming.
So tonight we're talking about the early 90s comedy, fantasy, Hocus Pocus. And as our guest of the hour told you, it starred Bette Midler and Kathy Najimy.
And Sarah Jessica Parker. They all got top billing.
They sure did.
Yes, they do. And before we go any further, especially for those on YouTube who are watching, D'Manda, explain your look tonight.
Oh, sure. So I am currently wearing most famously from the New Mutants, these days the X-Men. In fact, she is playing a key part in the current story arc called The Ten of Swords in the X-Men series. Ilyana Rasputin, magic. She is a demon mutant sorceress. Ooh. I thought, it would be fun to be a witch tonight.
Excellent. And that's a fabulous character.
Yes.
That I remember from long ago when Chris Claremont was writing her.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, she started out in the New Mutants, and so interesting the way her character grew and became just more fleshed out and well-rounded.
So just again, since we're here and we're talking about it, so her first appearance was actually the same as Colossus in Giant Size X-Men #1 back in 1975.
That's
I believe.
right.
Because she almost got hit by a tractor, but Colossus, turned all metal and smashed the tractor. And then later she comes to visit Colossus at Xavier's school, and then is kidnapped by the evil demon sorcerer Belasco to his dimension of limbo, because her mutant powers of teleportation actually are connected to the other dimension of limbo, and spent years there for minutes for us here on Earth, because magic, timey-wimey, things. And she came back as a teenager and joined the team, the New Mutants. And actually, the issue that made me, like, it to this day still makes me cry is Uncanny X-Men 303, which is when the original Illyana Rasputin dies of the legacy virus, which was the sort of AIDS analog of the mutants in the early 90s. She was later resurrected by Belasco using, again, timey-wimey, alternate realities, blah, 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 but brings her back without her soul. So then she tries to reclaim her soul, and then she becomes a member of the X-Men again.
Fabulous recap.
Ladies and gentlemen, when you can out-nerd the hosts of Matinee Minutia, you have a place of honor in our theater.
Well, I mean, as you guys have been to some of the panels that I've been on, especially at Farpoint Convention. Like that movie one, that was a fun one. We were talking about movies that were terrible, but we still love.
Absolutely. So, Toppie, we are entering in another section of the show here. Would you like to lead our leading lady here?
Sure. D'Manda, why don't we set the stage for the movie? And we're going to talk a little bit about what was going on in the world. 1963.
Sure.
Sorry,
1993. So, U.S. history in 1993. So, Bill Clinton was sworn in as the 42nd U.S. president. Wow, that seems like such a long time ago. Famed tennis pro Arthur Ashe died from AIDS-related complications. The World Trade Center is bombed in a van parked below the North Tower. 6 people died, 1,000 were injured. And another tragedy in Waco, Texas. Is it 61? Sorry, there's a little mark right here in the thing. Is it 61 or 51?
I think 51.
A standoff occurs in relation to the Branch Davidian cult. Rodney King testified against police violence. Again, I can't believe that that's still, like, it's so weird to think about all of those things happening at the same time. Intel ships from the first Pentium PC processor chips. Intel ships its first Pentium PC processor chips. Microsoft releases Windows NT 3.11, the first network operating system, which, again, it's so weird because, I mean, here, so that was the 3.11. What do I have here? I have in my computer, the Intel Core 17. I mean, crazy. An executive order is signed requiring the U.S. Air Force to allow women to fly warplanes, which that would just happen in 1983. And NASA loses contact with the Mars Observer probe, which, I mean, listen, aliens. I'm not going to say that it's aliens, but it's aliens.
The truth is out there.
I mean, listen, in this 2020 timeline that we're currently in, where it's like, how many stories about aliens were like buried because of all of the other nonsense and ridiculousness that has happened over the last 9 months? Like, just can't even believe it. Can't even believe it.
So, just speaking of computers and going and watching a movie that features really old tech. I just watched War Games a couple nights ago.
Oh my gosh, it's definitely been.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember what year it was, but that's the one with Matthew Broderick. And talk about just going like, wow, yeah, it really was like that. Because they had to plug in their phones, and it seemed so technologically advanced when we saw it.
I mean, just recently, my roommate and I just watched my best friend's wedding, and her cell phone is literally the size of like a small child. Like it's crazy. Like,
and Toppie, speaking of War Games, there, Mr. Matthew Broderick happens to be married to a member of the cast from tonight's film.
Wait, to bring it back to our film. Yes, indeed, Sarah Jessica Parker. Are they still married?
Yes, they are.
Well, good for them. All right.
Yeah, and I believe they have 1 or 2 kids via surrogate.
All right.
Well, I just hope for their sake that he's not singing anyone to sleep.
Well, I mean,
Aw.
or honestly driving anymore.
Oh.
Way to bring it back there.
All right. Celebrity births from 1993. Ariana Grande. Proclamation.
Oh my God, I can't even. Like, she was born in 93.
I guess so. Lucas Cruikshank. He's a YouTuber, an actor. Don't know how to pronounce this. DJ, how do you pronounce that first name?
Niall Horan.
Niall Horan. What a pretty name. Irish singer.
Oh, he's the one of the ones from New Direction, right?
That's right. That's right.
I think so. And if I'm not mistaken, I think he was one of the folks that won a contest and got to be on Glee.
No, that's not the same person.
Oh, okay. Still Irish, but I can say that because
that kid was Irish, but that's not the same person.
And last birth from 93, Meghan Trainor, another singer and pop star.
Isn't she all about that bass?
Yes, she was all about that bass.
DJ, why don't you tell us what was in competition with Hocus Pocus when it was coming out? What were the other movies out there?
Alrighty. So in 1993, when President Clinton came into office, Hocus Pocus was released. You would think it'd be in the fall because it was a Halloween story. But when do you think it was released? No. It was released in the summer.
Which... I mean, can we talk about it now or can we talk about it later? But like, they buried this movie. Like they buried it instead of allowing it to do what it was supposed to do, which is obviously a fall release. They decided to release it in the summer, and it got completely buried. Did not do well in the box office. Did not do well critically. People honestly did not like it. It wasn't until home video and starting to play in syndication on television at Halloween time that people really started liking it.
I wondered. So the studio really didn't have a lot of faith in it. That it just wanted to.
No, it was one of those things where it was just like, yeah, we'll just go ahead and do it. So, I mean, again, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, that's quite all right.
But yeah, so it was originally intended to be a Disney Channel original film. Actually starring Cloris Leachman. And it was actually written. The original script was written back in 1984. I did my research today too, you guys. It was actually it was written a long time ago, and Disney purchased it in 1984. And so it was actually originally much scarier. And all of them, the 3 main characters, they were children, so they were all supposed to be Danny's age. So then as it progressed into the 90s, they decided to make the 2 characters teenagers. And then it was kind of like dead, like no one kind of cared about it until Bette Midler decided that she wanted to be a part of it. And so that's when it got bumped from a Disney TV original movie to an actual theatrical release. But again, they really didn't have a whole lot of faith in it, I guess, and still buried it in the summer, especially after like Jurassic Park was going on. So it's like, who are you going to compete with?
I don't know about you, but just the idea that Cloris Leachman was going to be in this movie was scary to me.
So also originally, they also previous to Disney, they also pitched it to Steven Spielberg at Amblin. And because he was, competition, so they were like, hey, Amblin, do you maybe want this movie? And that's when Disney was like, no, that's still ours. We've had this for a while. We're just going to keep that.
It's interesting because it really does have kind of a Spielberg feel to it. I think Hocus Pocus does.
A little bit, yeah.
So it came out in the summer. It was in July. It only brought in $39.5 million. Now, of course, we love the underdog here, so it's no surprise that it was in the lower tier, mostly because they buried it. But number one, as our leading lady there, D'Manda, mentioned, was Jurassic Park that year, bringing in $338 million. If you're not familiar, it had Sam Neill, Laura Dern, and Jeff Goldblum.
If you're not familiar,
right?
Eight movies later.
Also in that top tier there, way above Hocus Pocus, sadly. Number 2 that year was a film with Harrison Ford, The Fugitive.
It was the One-Armed Man.
Yeah. Brought in $176 million. And number 3 was a film with Tom Cruise called The Firm, and he was a lawyer. Now, to put things into perspective, even though we love The Underdog, we kind of like to know what was better, maybe what was worse, if there is a worse. And one better than Hocus Pocus on that ladder of the box office was a children's film called Homeward Bound. And, it was a story about a dog and a cat, and the cat and dog were voiced by Michael J. Fox and Sally Field, if you can imagine.
So I can't remember who the older dog was, because Michael J. Fox was the young dog, and then Sally Field was the cat.
Yeah, I know who it was.
I'm sorry, did you say you did?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of his name, but he was in Cocoon. Don Amici. Was that his name? Don Amici?
No, are you thinking of Wilford Brimley?
No, I don't think he did the voice. Don Amici, I think, did the voice of the older dog.
But I remember seeing that in the movie theater because my brothers all wanted to see another movie that day. What was A Fire in the Sky, the alien abduction movie?
Yeah.
And it was too scary for me, so my mom literally took me out of the theater and we walked across to Homeward Bound. And I remember watching Homeward Bound that day. I mean, all of these. So we are big. I mean, I don't know if you guys can tell, but obviously huge movie fan. We did that a lot as kids. Me and my brothers and my parents, we went to see a lot of movies in the movie theater. I remember seeing Hocus Pocus in the movie theaters as well. Jurassic Park, my mom fell asleep. She still to this day is like, oh, Jurassic Park is so boring. She didn't even make it to the dinosaurs. Like she didn't even make it. She was like,
in the chat room, Janet confirms it was Don Amici. And also, as long as we mentioned in the chat room, we have tonight with us is Aunt Tudor. And we have Billy's here, your husband. And we have Janet. And we have RT Cruiser and Tommy Hash Browns. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for being here.
Alrighty, and so rounding out the box office in 93, the film that did one less than Hocus Pocus was a little thing with Angela Bassett and Lawrence Fishburne called What's Love Got to Do with It? And it was
a little film.
Tina Turner. It brought in $39 million, so not quite as much as Hocus Pocus, but again, it didn't have Bette Midler.
But she was nominated for an Oscar for that, was she not? Or was Lawrence Fishburne?
One of the two were. I do believe you're correct.
Because and also because I kind of remember because we watched the Oscars a lot growing up too. I think she still performed even though there wasn't an original song nominated because obviously they just sang Tina Turner songs.
By the way, I'm sorry to just backtrack just a second. Just to mention that Homeward Bound movie that was actually a remake of a Disney film. There was the original Homeward Bound. Which is stands up on its own. It's very much like the remake, but different.
So before we continue on here, and shortly we'll be about halfway through our show, I hope that our senior showgirl's in the house, although she tends to be a little shy when we have another lady around. Gertie, are you in the house?
Well, yeah, I am. Hi, everybody. Hi, D'Manda. Hi.
So,
sorry, I was on mute for a second. Hi.
No, I thought you were dumbstruck by my beauty.
Gertie, we'll be calling upon you shortly here because we're going to take a break in a moment. But I passed around a link in the chat room, and I asked our my co-host and our guest here to take a look at this little quiz that we have, just a little fun thing to do. And of course, this was probably more popular in the earlier days of the internet, but the quiz is, which Sanderson sister are you? So if you want to participate in the chat room, feel free to scroll up to the beginning of the show. I have that link in there, but some of us did our homework in advance. So are any of us ready to reveal our big secrets?
I mean, I don't need to take the quiz. I already know who I am.
Oh, no, I have it on good authority that Toppie's ride was a little slow getting here tonight, so he may not have gotten the note in advance.
No, I didn't, but I can just I'll go last, but I can tell you which one I am.
Okay, so of course I will. Well, I'll give you the choice, D'Manda. Would you like to be first?
I'm so, since I was but a wee babe, I have always loved Winifred Sanderson. I am definitely a Winnie. I am the one who's the loudest. I'm the one who takes charge. I'm the one who does not remain calm. I am calm. So I just know that I am a Winnie. Like that's just it.
Perfect.
Well,
DJ, what are you?
All right. Well, when I took the test, because it was kind of like one of those. This is my life story. I'm not quite sure, but it said that I'm Sarah. So
not surprised.
It basically told me that my abilities are underestimated.
There you go.
And I am the youngest child in my family, so that explains a lot.
Well, this is perfect. If we were all in the movie, we'd each have a part because I identified with Kathy's character.
With Mary.
Mary.
Yep.
Well, maybe that says something about your day job because she did ride a Hoover.
Oh my God. I didn't even think of that. By the way, in the chat room, Janet reminds us that the original Homeward Bound was called The Incredible Journey. That's the original version.
And Janet also said that she's Binks. And Tommy Hashbrown says, yes, I'm Elphaba. I mean, a little bit of a cheat, but I'll take it. Funny story about Wicked, though, since Tommy brought it up. So many years ago, and by many, just a few years ago, my best friend and I were sitting in a bar. As theater people typically do, and we were talking about, if we were in shows, who would we be? And he was, and I was like, I don't know. Sometimes I identify with Elphaba. Sometimes I identify with Glinda. And he was like, no, you're a Glinda. And I was like, what do you mean I can't be Elphaba? He's like, no, they have to lift her. Can you believe? How rude. How rude.
Really? Janet in the chat says that she's Binks because she keeps getting run over by a car.
Oh my God.
I knew a Binks in real life. Isn't that an interesting name? But I knew someone whose name was Binks.
That is interesting.
Quite a bit rarer than Zachary.
Thackeray.
Okay, well, we are about the midway of our show. And we're going to sneak over here to the snack bar because Gertie is whipping up some treats. You got those candy apples ready, ma'am?
Yeah. They'll pull your fillings right out.
So we are going to regale you with a little bit longer than usual intermission here. I've got about a 4-minute interlude, and this is from a week's worth of appearances on the Today Show back in the year of the film's release. And don't get too excited. They only let them have a few minutes each. So these are the ladies from Hocus Pocus on the Today Show.
Sarah Jessica Parker, good morning. Welcome back to Today. Nice to see you.
Very nice. Right.
Tell me a little bit about this movie. How much fun was it to play a witch with Bette Midler and Kathy Najimy?
It was great fun. I mean, there were obviously the elements were there, so it was sort of up to us to, the thing that was most fun and most sort of creatively satisfying was that there was very little about our characters beyond descriptions of what they do in the context of the script. So we really got to, and me especially for the first time, I had a chance to really create a character, which meant like a voice and finding physical stuff and learning to fly. And we all had our own separate and individual ways of flying, and our takeoffs were very different and unique. And it was great. And
what kind of witch did you want to create? What kind of witch is Sarah Sanderson?
Well, my theory is that she is the most fundamentally evil of all of them, because she is so not bright, so not calculating, that it is her innate nature to be evil. And my older sisters, it's a learned thing. It's like, learning to like liver. They have like learned this evil, and I have just picked it up. It's as part of my environment. And so I wanted her to be truly evil in the most uncalculating way, and still somehow be seductive.
This morning, Kathy Najimy is in our Burbank studio. Hi, Kathy. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Fine, thanks. Listen, does it take any special skill to ride a Hoover? I don't know if you should answer that.
The funny thing is, that's the first time I've touched a vacuum in years.
I understand you had some concerns, in all seriousness, about taking on this role because you didn't want to offend or stereotype real witches. Is that right?
I didn't. I mean, at the risk of having America roll their eyes, I just feel supportive of all groups, whether they're women's groups or gay groups or racial groups. And I know that there are groups of witches out there. I mean, I'm not a witch. I don't know any personally. But when I read the script, I thought this is really perpetuating a stereotype about an evil, ugly witch. And I know that there are groups of really strong women who sort of bond together with and are very spiritual and powerful. And I didn't want to be part of, perpetuating that myth. So I talked to a lot of people about it. I talked to Kenny Ortega, the director, and he was great. I wrote letters to the producers, just letting them know how I felt. And I talked to Gloria Steinem about it.
You did?
And, yeah. And she said, because she's the goddess of the world and knows everything. And she said that the interesting thing was that originally some of the women who were said to be witches were healthcare workers and midwives. So that's where the notion of baby eating came, because they would perform abortions sometimes. And so the women would go in pregnant and come out not. And so, thus the gossip about baby eating, which is of course untrue. These were just like healthcare workers.
Talents and wry sense of humor, and she was the perfect choice to star in the new movie, Hocus Pocus. Recently, I talked with Bette about her latest role as a wicked witch named Winnie.
Hello. Goodbye.
She's very, very funny, and I could play her. I'd be happy playing her for the rest of my life. She gets to do everything,
What kind of witch is she?
Well, she's completely demented. She can be quite evil, but most of the time she's very funny. Of course, she doesn't know how funny she is, but she can be quite wicked.
I was going to say, she is one nasty witch.
She's very nasty, but she's so funny.
Was that a stretch?
Well, some people say it wasn't. However, I think I'm a very kind person. I just, Kenny Ortega was the director on that. Kenny Ortega is a dancer. He started out as a dancer. So when he put the three of us together, Sarah Jessica Parker and Kathy Najimy and myself, when he put the three of us together, he wanted us to be able to act like a trio. And it was the first time that I'd ever been a real part of a trio, an acting trio. And I just thought it was so much fun.
We are
So-
bad.
So, yeah, as a matter of fact, there are no scenes with just one witch. Whenever the witches are seen, they're always together.
Well, I mean, that goes into the whole power of three, that most witches, it's sort of like built in. There's always three witches.
Yeah.
Although in The Craft, which came out a few years later, they went into, the four corners, which is a whole other thing. But, I mean, three is sort of, the magic number.
Mm-hmm. What do you guys think about how well they did as far as either not or doing a good job and not stereotyping what a witch is? Do you think they succeeded? I'm not sure they succeeded.
I mean, So, I mean, thinking back, 1993 was really big in the whole, political correctness, which, a lot of people these days are very upset about being politically correct. But I mean, back then there wasn't political correctness. So it's like, I mean, the fact that in 1993, Kathy Najimy was like, oh no, it's not just about different races and genders and the LGBTQ spectrum, but also, oh, there's also this group of people who are actually practicing witches. I mean, I have a very dear friend who grew up as a pagan, and it's totally, it's their family religion. It's kind of what they do. So I mean, just the fact that she even thought about that is kind of lovely. But I mean, the movie is a Disney camp nonsense thing. Like, girl, thank you for saying that, but sure, Jan.
There you go. One thing that I thought they did achieve really well is being a trio, and I watched it for the second time and just sort of I started looking at the characters who were not speaking to see what they were doing when the other actor was active, and they all had their little bits they did not just stand there when they weren't doing lines. They were all in character and doing their little shtick, even though they weren't the center of the action. So that was interesting. I thought they were an awesome trio. And I asked DJ a week or so back, I said, DJ, please tell me that these ladies had a good time making this movie, because I want to believe, I hope they weren't little shits to each other. So I want to believe they were really good friends.
I mean, Bette Midler stated that it was the most fun that she had had on a movie up until that point in her career.
Mm-hmm. I think it shows.
And the thing, and I think that's what shows too. I mean, Sarah Jessica Parker and Bette Midler then worked later together on First Wives Club. And also, Bette Midler was originally supposed to be in Sister Act, so I wonder if she ever got to meet Kathy Najimy through that. I don't know. Maybe, probably not. But I mean, it's one of those things where you can see people having fun. Again, as someone who's classically trained, you can see that. You can tell when people actually have fun and actually like are having a good time. What was I just watching and thinking about the other day, where it was a real life couple on screen, and it was like, no, you can see their chemistry. Like it works. It makes sense that that this happened, because when people are actually having fun. Oh, someone was talking about the Scream movies and David Arquette and Courtney Cox, and like regardless of where their relationship was, the whole up and down thing throughout filming the first 4 movies, their performances together were still so good because they just have that thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And, I think the one thing that each of those actresses in Hocus Pocus succeeded in doing was not necessarily staying away from the stereotypes, as it was each of them brought something different to their character. And when you get to watch some of the bonus materials that are out there, you get to learn a little bit more of the backstory of the characters. But, I think that they did a good job with the chemistry. And one of the things that was mentioned was that Bette Midler basically treated it as though they were a female version of the Three Stooges.
Oh, that's interesting. Jen in the chat room says she says I'm a proud pagan, and I didn't find myself offended by this film because these people are really more cartoon characters type witches. So that's interesting. And yeah, they are very cartoony. Yeah.
And it should be noted that since we're discussing a film that's, a celebrated piece of pop culture of Halloween, Halloween itself is actually a holiday.
A pagan holiday, yeah.
Yeah, it's been reclaimed by, quote unquote American culture.
Mm-hmm.
So we are at a point in the show where we're going to talk about the members of the cast, the folks that are playing these characters we're talking about. And, as the lady of the hour, D'Manda, if you'd like to go first and talk about the diva who was the wildest hair in this film, that's for sure.
So Bette Midler is one of my favorites. So previous to this, she was just in For the Boys, which was, if I recall correctly, one of the first movies which was done by her. What was it called? All Girls Productions, something like that. Now I can't remember the name of her production company because I didn't write it down. But I love that movie. That movie to this day still makes me cry. I actually sing the songs from that movie a lot. I love For the Boys. And then the next movie that she did after this was another famous trio, The First Wives Club, which is another huge fan favorite. I love that. So I love Bette Midler in First Wives Club because that character is my mother. Even though she's not Jewish, my mother isn't Jewish. Like that's my mom. Like even so, and again, my parents are not divorced or anything like that, but it's like she loves that person, but also she wants to kill him. Like she wants to strangle him. But also, and like her fashion is my mom, like that cute white number that she wears in the end. My mom has that suit in purple. Like it's like that character is my mom. Bette Midler has always been a favorite. One of my favorite Bette Midler movies, which is I think we've talked about it on this show before when I've been here before, is Outrageous Fortune. Oh yeah, we did because we talked about Shelley Long when we did True Beverly Hills. Huge favorite of mine, which again I think we talked about as one of the first times that Bette Midler was really kind of like given like a thing to do, because I think it was like just after The Rose, maybe somewhere in the in those that early 80s stuff. But I love. I'm trying to think like off the top of my head. I mean, other things that I love Bette Midler in, which is a little less well known, is That Old Feeling. Have you guys ever seen that one? Her and Dennis Farina, I believe. Pretty much they're a divorced couple. Who hate each other. They go to their daughter's wedding and romance is reignited, and so they like run off, and so it's her daughter and this private or this paparazzi guy end up like trying to track them down, and it's super cute, super fun, super stupid, as as one does. But yeah, I love everything in Bette Midler. This movie in particular is obviously super famous for drag queens. Every drag queen has an I Put a Spell on You number. I have it in a mix that I do for Zatanna, who's a DC Comics witch. It's a fan favorite, especially amongst little gay children.
Yeah. What do you guys think of the that one little musical number in Hocus Pocus?
It's iconic. It's the thing they perform it at Disney World. The three Sanderson sisters come out and do it every year.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, it's a thing. It's a staple of Halloween.
I like the way I didn't feel like it was intrusive. It seemed to fit right in there because of where they were. I thought it worked well.
And it sort of kept on trend. And I don't know if I guess it started, but like throughout the 90s, the movie musical itself was not super popular. But in comedies, especially romantic comedies, having a random musical number was very popular. So like that, if you think about My Best Friend's Wedding, which we just saw the other day, and then towards the later 90s was when you had all those rom-coms where it's just like ladies randomly lip syncing and dancing around the kitchen in their pajamas making margaritas. Practical Magic being one. Stepmom was another one that had that in it. So it just sort of like kept on trend of the movie musical, not so much. And then throughout the 90s, it was like, oh, let's just put in a musical number. And also, as Bette Midler mentioned, Kenny Ortega directed this movie, who was a huge choreographer. He worked on the Chorus Line movie. I know we're going to talk about him in a minute. But he worked on Chorus Line, which is kind of connected to him then doing the High School Musical franchise. He also did the new dance movie, which the name escapes me. That was released on Netflix, and Ben and I were like, oh, like this seems like something that directed by Kenny Ortega. Duh. So it makes sense that this, I'm sure we'll talk about it later, but just sort of like passing the baton. Adam Shankman, who's another dancer turned director, is attached to the potential sequel that may or may not happen. And so it just makes sense to have someone who still has that kind of musical eye to direct this movie.
And I thought it was just a perfect irony too, because this is sort of that song originally was sort of a kind of a nightclub song, like you'd expect Sinatra to perform. And of course you've got that cute little twist now that Bette Midler's singing as a witch, so the words have sort of a different meaning.
Mm-hmm. It was I like that whole adult party because they kind of concentrating on the kids out on the street and being a very kid friendly, and then you kind of zap, suddenly you're at this adult party that has a different vibe to it.
And it then sort of helps the plot of, well, what are all the parents doing? How come it's because she puts a spell on them and now they can't leave. And also the mom in the Madonna costume, also iconic. Like I don't think I'd ever do a Madonna costume per se, but I would do the mom from Hocus Pocus as Madonna because that's funny.
Right.
All right. Well, I thought the parents were really weird in this movie.
It's because they're afterthoughts. They have to be there because there's children, but they kind of are just like, how do we get the parents to not be here?
Okay, there you go.
Just speaking of the mom dressed as Madonna, it was kind of a moment of irony there, because here's the girl who's living in the 90s as a young girl, and even though her mom's dressed up as the Madonna that her mom grew up with, Madonna is dressing differently by the time that little girl comes around, so she doesn't recognize that as the way Madonna would look.
But also, that look that she's doing was only 2 years prior in 1991.
Wow.
It's only 2 years prior. But to kind of like circle back, it's also a common theme amongst horror movies in general is to where are the parents? That's usually why it takes place at summer camp, because parents aren't there. Or even in Scream, like the parents just aren't around because they're divorced or dead or, have to go away on business or, whatever. It's the theme of, because parents are, again, to get deep, parents are obviously the protectors of children. So you have to get away from them in order for the kids to then, be in danger and save themselves.
Excellent point. Let's talk about Sarah Jessica Parker. She started out and made some made-for-TV movies. She made later on a big splash in Honeymoon in Vegas in '92. Also in '93, besides Hocus Pocus, she was in a god-awful movie called Striking Distance with Bruce Willis. It's horrible, but anyways, it was kind of an action picture, as you might guess, with Bruce Willis, who I don't think there was very forgettable. And of course, she's perhaps best well known for Sex and the City, the TV series on HBO that was kind of groundbreaking in many, many ways.
And more than a handful of years before she got onto Hocus Pocus, she was in a short-lived sitcom called Square Pegs, and that's probably where she got her start there. And these days you could probably find that on DVD sets in your finer discount stores.
So another fun fact about Sarah Jessica Parker is that she was in the original Broadway run of Annie, eventually taking over for the role. I think she was the first replacement. Excuse me. She was originally one of the orphans, and then she was July, and then she was Annie.
That's right.
I heard that as a result of her role in Annie, she actually had the same voice coach as Bette Midler.
Mm-hmm.
So that brings us to our third Sanderson sister, and that is, of course, Kathy Najimy, who played Mary. Now, of course, some of you might be wondering what is up with her hair, because it's just kind of twisted and windswept. And, well, it apparently was supposed to look like the stem of a pumpkin. So, but yes, Kathy Najimy is one of my favorites from that time frame of the 90s, because just the year or so before, she had her first big breakout in Sister Act with Whoopi Goldberg. And of course, she was that delightful nun that was just more bubbly than the rest of them there. And, that actually, Kathy Najimy was one of my favorite parts of that film because, her famous line was, when I was growing up, my mother thought that I would either be a nun or a flight attendant. And then she, proceeds to offer her fellow nurses, nuns, coffee. But anyways, she was also in a series for a while with pop culture B-movie favorite Kirstie Alley. And,
I love Veronica's Closet.
I have got to find where I can watch that over again because.
So Kathy Najimy, so she first came to popularity with Mo Gaffney. They had a stand-up act together for a long time, and I think a few years ago that it was playing on HBO. Quite hilarious. I would recommend.
Kathy and Mo show.
Yeah, and but my favorite, which again the movie now is slightly problematic. But my favorite role of Kathy Najimy's is the costume lady in Soap Dish, because it's the iconic David. I don't feel quite right in a turban. Can you please tell the new costume lady, who I don't remember her name, Kathy Najimy, Tawny, that I don't feel quite right in a turban. It is so iconic, so amazing. Frickin' love it. Kathy Najimy.
I mean, where else can you watch Whoopi Goldberg and Sally Fields work in the same movie?
and Carrie Fisher and Robert Downey Jr. and Kevin Kline and Elizabeth Shue. Just so many people in that movie. And Kathy Moriarty and Terry Hatcher. Like, that movie is so great. But when you get to the end, it's like, ugh, cringe. So spoiler warning, there's a reveal at the end which is quite problematic.
I think we might have to add that to our list because I've been meaning to rewatch that again.
I love it so much.
And just coming up every now and then. So, oh, right. Well, we are towards the end of our show. And so in a moment, we're going to talk about some of our favorite Halloween treats because it is that time of year. But
before we do that, can I say one more like random thing which I find very weird?
Please do.
So in the movie, Thackeray Binks is played by, hold on, I need to find the actor's name, is Sean Murray. So Sean Murray plays Thackeray Binks. However, all of his lines are dubbed over by Jason Marsden. Jason Marsden, mostly known for doing the singing voice of Aladdin back in the 90s, and then he was quite popular amongst Disney stuff, doing a lot of singing voices for actors and all of that stuff. He was eventually like on screen during a few things, but I just found it so weird that because like also the actors don't look that different. I mean, they're kind of teenage white boys who look like Disney stars. So I was like, why didn't you then just cast Jason Marsden? Like it's so weird that it's like they dubbed his entire role. Like he was not like you don't hear that guy's voice at all.
Interesting. I wonder why they did that. Huh. Well, before we do go on to the end, just quickly, I thought the kid actors, the child actors, the younger actors were
Thora Birch.
I thought they were all believable and good. So I thought they were perfect. Each one of them.
So again, rewatching the movie just in kind of preparation for all of this. So Thora Birch was obviously very popular in the 90s, doing tons of stuff, including American Beauty and Now and Then, which is another terrible yet amazing film. But pretty much like the 2000s, she kind of was like, do you know what? I guess I got money. I'm doing a thing. I think she was on NCIS or one of those type of shows. So she's like getting a regular paycheck, but she does a lot of independent stuff now because she's just like, I'm cool. I'm just going to do what I want instead of continuing to try to do stuff that is popular.
Cool. She's living her life. Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay, so we're going to talk about our favorite moments from the film before we have our little moments about Halloween. So this is the moment you shouldn't miss. And well, I guess maybe I will go first. Aside from the fact that this is actually, taking place in Salem, which, is the beginning of a Halloween story on its own. But the fact that we've got kids who are, finding themselves in a new place, starting over, having to make new friends. This all just kind of appealed to me right from the beginning because I know what it was like to, have to move and start at another school. But I think that the things that I enjoyed the most from the film aren't just, specific moments, but like when like when Max and Danny were going trick-or-treating and they stop at the fancy house that looked like it belonged to the rich folks. Well, they walk in the door, they're saying to each other, oh my gosh, this is a party for rich folks. It's like they're probably going to make us drink cider and bob for apples. And then the popular girl that is Allison there, Max's crush, she actually offers them candy apples. So just playing right into the stereotype.
Mm-hmm. I'll just say briefly, I love the musical number and many of the other scenes where the witches are just off the hook nutso. But I really loved the opening of the movie. I love the credits. I love the book. And I love the feel they gave the scenes from the past. And I thought it had magnificent production values. They did not skimp on making that era, seem real. So I really love the beginning sequence of that movie.
I mean, musical number, definitely. Sarah's song, also a fave. But also the super awkward, because for most kids, they probably didn't know who Gary Marshall and Penny Marshall were. But me, being a huge fan of A League of Their Own, because Madonna, I knew who Penny Marshall was, and I knew who Gary Marshall was because my parents were huge fans of Happy Days and all that stuff, and Laverne and Shirley. My mom, that was one of my mom's favorite shows. So when that scene came on, even when I was a kid, I was like, aren't they brother and sister? Like, it was very like, what is happening with this right now? Like, it was very like cringe for me. But I love a good cameo, good times. And Sarah Jessica Parker's like line readings, like when they hit the cat and she's like excited about like hitting the cat on the bus, or her iconic amok, or at the very beginning when she's like, I'm young, boys will love me. I feel that.
I loved it. I loved it when she ate the spiders. She really loved the spiders.
Yes. or when they have the bullies in the cages and she's like, I want to play with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wasn't it just the best line when Penny Marshall's like, okay, party's over?
Yes. I mean, it's that Penny Marshall, okay, party's over. Like, I love Penny Marshall.
Oh, so we're gonna wrap things up, but actually maybe we can make this a two-part wrap up. It's candy related, so wrap. So let's see, I put a link in the chat room for those of you interested or curious, and there was a study done by some folks on what the most popular candies are in your home state. Maybe I'll also share that in our Facebook group if you're listening to this as one does after the show. But I do believe here in the Northeast, in the great state of New York, Excelsior, the most popular Halloween candy is the Crunch Bar, which, of course, in earlier days would have been called a Nestle Crunch Bar. But what I like most at Halloween, I think, are the old-fashioned peanut butter kisses, and they're kind of like the taffy that's in the black and fluorescent orange paper.
Yes. Those are fillings. They'll pull your fillings out. Yeah.
We call those the old people candy. We're like, oh, what's the old people candy?
Oh God. Look, for me, a little goes a long way, but I like the candy corn and those candy pumpkins. They all taste the same, whatever the hell it is. You know what I mean?
Not natural or normal.
No, nothing at all normal. But it's been, as a matter of fact, every year at this time of year, I will get a small quantity of candy corn and just sort of, that's all. Candy corn. Yep.
So I love candy, like a lot. Easter and Halloween are huge for me. I love Starburst, Skittles, like fruity flavored things. But I love all candy. Like I'm not a huge chocolate person. Like I like candy. But something that always made me laugh going trick-or-treating is that people to this day would still give out like frickin' Good and Plenty's, and I'm like, what is this for? And my mom every year is like, yes, somebody gave you Good and Plenty's, because my mom frickin' loves Good and Plenty's. I was like, this is disgusting. They're like candy covered black licorice, like as if you could make black licorice worse, and you did. It's so gross. I just do not care for them. But yeah, Starburst, Runts, Now and Laters. Now the little like packs of Now and Laters that they would give out at Halloween time. I love those because you could suck on them and then chew them up. Runts, I love Jawbreakers. I just love candy. I don't know if you can tell, but I like to eat.
Oh, I forgot to cue our music. We have a candy discussion here, so we have to have candy music. So maybe as we make our way out to the lobby here, we are about to do a reveal in a moment here. But it's Halloween, so things that are related to Hocus Pocus that you might enjoy. And so we're just going to say what some of our favorite Halloween programs are that we like to watch every year at this time. So, D'Manda, would you like to fire off something?
So, most people my age would say things like Halloween Town. I did not have cable growing up, so I mean, for a lot of people around my age, that's a huge thing. I have actually never seen it. But Debbie Reynolds, who doesn't love Debbie Reynolds? But for me, I have currently finished the first 3. I still need to watch number 4. But I love the Scream movies. They're a perfect blend of horror and camp, in my opinion. Scream 3 is my favorite because Parker Posey just makes everything better. But it's still gory. So, I mean, it's not quite child friendly like Hocus Pocus is, but highly recommend. I love them. It's great.
Aunt Tudor in the chat room said Blow Pops came up first on her list, and isn't that funny? DJ just revealed that the most popular candy, Halloween candy in Delaware, are Blow Pops.
I do love a Blow Pop.
There you go. Yeah. Where were we? What were we talking about?
Halloween programming.
Oh. Well, for me, nothing can beat the nostalgia and the classic wonderfulness of It's a Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, at least for TV. But the movie that Hocus Pocus made me think of the most, especially because of the beginning sequence in Hocus Pocus, there's is a lovely Johnny Depp movie, Sleepy Hollow. It's very spooky. It's quite scary. It has its own odd humor because, well, Johnny Depp, and
Tim Burton.
Yes, exactly. So,
Which also, I believe that Doug Jones, who was Billy, was also the Headless Horseman, because he's a very, very prolific stuntman and very bendy. Hold on, I'm gonna look that up really quick.
Did you say very bendy?
Yeah, so he's he does a lot of, oh, what's his name? Like the horror director. Like he did.
Are you thinking of Del Toro?
Yes, Del Toro. So like he did Pan's Labyrinth. Like he's the monsters in Pan's Labyrinth. He was the fish guy in Hellboy.
Shape of Water.
Yeah.
Oh, I love Shape of Water.
Well, wait a minute. Isn't this the guy who's in Star Trek Discovery?
Yeah,
probably.
Name. He's Saru. He's the officer.
Yeah, Doug Jones. I'm looking to see if that was him in Sleepy Hollow.
Doug Jones has gone on the record of saying is that he would love a chance to play Billy in a Hocus Pocus sequel.
I mean, I'm here for it.
So I'll go ahead and while you're looking that up, mention that some of the things that I like to watch every year at this time, they've been more recent traditions that I've started. There was a animated short film that was done before I was little. So by the time I was seeing it, it was on HBO. Years later, probably on VHS, but it was a Canadian production. And come to find out, it stars the voices of Gilda Radner and Catherine O'Hara. And it's a little thing called Witches Night Out. And it's a cute little short film about these kids whose parents have gone out, maybe to a party, Halloween, and they're just kind of in the dumps about Halloween. And there's a witch who's haunting this old mansion, and some of the townspeople decide to hold a party there. Well, she takes over the party and starts changing people over. Witches Night Out. And then the other thing I would recommend is something that's thankfully on Disney Plus now, but they were possibly Disney Sunday movies for a few years, and they were Mr. Boogedy and Bride of Boogedy. And it was all about a family that moves to a New England town for the dad's business, and he basically has a novelty shop. He sells sort of gadgets and magic items.
I mean, I also feel like we would be remiss if we didn't mention Nightmare Before Christmas. So no, I guess Doug Jones was not in Sleepy Hollow, which is interesting. But I mean, if you look at Doug Jones's resume on IMDb, you're like, oh yes, like he played like the creepy gentleman on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He's been a ton of aliens and creatures and stuff in any sci-fi whatever television show. It's because he's so thin and bendy.
Yeah, bendy. Now I see what you mean.
Yeah,
he certainly has given us his character on Star Trek Discovery, Saru, a unique walk and, well, just everything. The way he stands, the way he walks, truly kind of amazing.
And he was also the Silver Surfer in the Fantastic Four movie. Yeah, he's like the go-to guy when you want someone who's like creepy alien and he's not afraid of prosthetics or a ass ton of makeup.
So we are going to go ahead and make our way to the rest out to the lobby here. And part of the history of our beautiful little theater here is, well, in the old days, we had quite a few acts, including a magic act, and a magician left a bag of coins here. Toppie, can you hand me that bag?
Yep, here you go.
Okay, so we're going to figure out what's coming down the pike, what's going to be next on Matinee Minutia. All righty, will you hand me that capsule, sir?
There you go.
All right. All righty. So the next time we're going to get together, because we do this twice a month, it's the first and third Friday of each month. So next time it will be Friday, November. Yes, November. We're coming to that month already. November 6th. It is a mid to late 90s adventure, kind of like that time of the year. It's a comedy directed by the man who brought us the Saturday Night Live comedy Tommy Boy. This is two ex-presidents that must conspire to clear their own names from scandal, starring Jack Lemmon and James Garner in My Fellow Americans.
All right, we're going to look forward to that. D'Manda, thank you so much. The breadth and breadth of your knowledge is truly impressive. I mean, you really know your stuff.
Well, I didn't grow up with a lot of friends, and I love movies, and comic books. Well, thank you guys so much. Like, it's always so much fun joining you here and getting to talk about stuff that I love.
That's great. Awesome. And I'd like you to tell us where people can find you, what you've been doing. I think you have started a podcast.
So first you can follow my journey on social media at D'Manda Martini, DMANDA MARTINI. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So two of my friends and I, they both live in England. We've been friends for about 10 years now. We have decided that we are going to be starting a podcast about the fashion of the X-Men. So it just, things in life just keep getting in the way. We're trying to get it organized, but that's going to be coming up soon. So I am in a few shows coming up. So this coming Wednesday, I'm going to be in Carmina Vavra's regular Wednesday show called Laugh Track. I'm going to be live singing a brand new number for everyone, and you can find that show on Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Central Time, and that is on Twitch, twitch.tv/Carmina Vavra. And then on Saturday, the show that I host, Eleanor's New Deal Cabaret, is doing a spooktacular with lots of special guests. We have about, I think, 15 performers, a mix of my usual ensemble of musical theater singers, as well as my con queens, my nerdy queens, and my new friends from Mixed Quarantine, which was a digital drag competition that I did earlier in the quarantine, mostly DC-based drag queens. So we have a whole huge show for you guys on Saturday, and that is on Facebook. So if you have a Facebook, find me on Facebook. You can also find Eleanor's New Deal Cabaret on Facebook, and you can follow and find me there. Again, lots more. Oh, and also I'm going to be in, it's called the Drag Queen TV. It's their Halloween show, actually on Halloween night.
Oh, fun.
Oh, well, it was a pleasure to have you among our company here tonight. And Toppie, if you would do the honors, please say good night, Gracie.
Good night, Gracie.
Thank you for listening to Matinee Minutia. Our show streams live the first and third Friday of each month.
Go to univozpods.net, click the tower for audio, enter Discord for chat.
You can find the show wherever you listen to podcasts.
Tweet us on Twitter at Matinee Minutia.
Join our Facebook group.
Visit our webpage at matineeminutia.com.
Have an idea for a future show? Or just want to message us?
Email us at matineeminutia@gmail.com.
Oliver.
This has been an Ollybug production. I have a voice.
I have a voice.
You have a voice.
You have a voice.
We have a voice.
We have a voice.
Unique voices in podcasting.
UniVozPods.net. And I'm going to go ahead and stop the stream here. And we should still be